Hey everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master and Pro Player, and today we're going to talk about the card that has ignited the entire Merfolk community in excitement. Merfolk Mistbinder. So what do we got here? We've got, for a blue and a green, a Merfolk Shaman. All other Merfolk get +1/+1. 2/2 creature. So let's start off with Standard. Standard needed this so bad. The Standard Merfolk deck is taking shape. Before, it was just a pile of rubbish. I can't believe that they had no real support cards, but these are the core parts of the deck that can bring it together, that could make it competitive. It's another card that can help buff up our creatures, get around Whirler Virtuoso, help apply a clock. Finally, we can play turn 1 Kumena Speaker into turn 2 Merfolk Mistbinder, attack for 3. That is very serious damage, and if we can chain more Mistbinders together, who knows what else is possible. It is a very strong enabler, and it's going to be very exciting to see where Merfolk is going to place in Standard. But now for a much less obvious evaluation, Modern. It's another Lord. So while everyone is incredibly excited, I totally understand. I am a bit underwhelmed and maybe not entirely so optimistic. So you have to hear me out. I have a very good explanation why. I'm going to start off by saying that I have played many versions of Merfolk in the past. That was just Lord City. We're talking 4 Lord of Atlantis, 4 Master of the Pearl Trident, 4 Marrow Regiri, and on top of that, 4 Merfolk Sovereign. And the icing on the cake, 4 Phantasmal Images. So 20 Lords, Lord.deck. And you know what? It sucks. It's bad. It doesn't work. And I cannot, you know what? It's good against some decks. It's not like it was totally losing, but it could never be great. That's all I can say. It could never be great. It was lacking in some terms. In general, you only need so many lords to enable the entire deck, and then you need the right balance of lord creatures and interaction. I don't think a deck with 20 lands, 4 Ether Vials, and 36 Lords would end up being a winning strategy. So let's start this off with comparing it to the obvious replacement, Marrow Regiri. Marrow Regiri, honestly, a Lord I really don't like all that much because of the mana cost. That 3 mana is so annoying because when you're up against an attrition-based deck, all they do is kill it for 2 mana or less, and it feels like I'm wasting a turn. So for this matter, Merfolk Mistbinder looks so much better. Misty, as we're going to be calling her, she's only 2 mana compared to 3. But here's the thing, all our lords, in general, have something else attached to their lord ability. Master of the Pearl Trident and Lord of Atlantis says all other creatures get +1/+1, and Island Walk. And the same thing with Marrow Regiri. All other creatures get +1/+1, and if you cast a spell, you may tap or untap target permanent. I can't fathom how many games I would throw away if I got rid of Marrow Regiri. That tapping ability is powerful. So if you compare Merfolk Mistbinder to Marrow Regiri, which one is really the most powerful? It's Marrow Regiri by miles. I've won tons of games casting creatures, tapping down my opponent's blockers, and getting in for the win. Marrow Regiri has synergy with Harbinger of the Tides. Tap the creature, bounce it to their hand. There's even weird games where my control opponent's at 3 land, and I flash in Harbinger of the Tides at their upkeep, using Marrow Regiri's tap trigger to tap down one of their lands, and guarantee they can't play Supreme Verdict that turn. You untap your own lands in order to empty your hand. You would throw all of those things away. This is a very powerful effect by Marrow Regiri. So is it worth it? Do we want to throw that all away for a 2 mana lord? A 2-mana vanilla lord. That's going to be the big question. That is going to be the big question. And you know what? I don't doubt that 2 mana has a huge advantage over 3 mana, but there's no power in this creature. There's a lot less power. So, what I also want to get to is that lords are very good in mid-range matchups when our opponents do not have a lot of removal spells. You're going to see this like in Nightfall, in Counter's Company, so long as you have the combo under control. Our creatures are best off as lords, 3/3 creatures, 4/4 creatures to get to attack through a bunch of Kitchen Finks or Voice of Resurgence. It's very important. It's also very good against Death and Taxes like decks that usually only run 4 Path to Exile. All these archetypes, relatively slow, don't have a lot of removal spells, so the Lord effect is very important. It's also very important in a lot of combo matchups, where you only want to play 1 or 2 Lords, attack, and hold up a bunch of counterspells and interaction in defense. So that's where Lords shine. Lords do not shine in attrition-based matchups because they're basically a vanilla creature to the control deck or the attrition-based deck. All the spells kill them. So when you play something, you really want it to have some influence on the board in some way, because the creature's going to die. So if we match up Merfolk Mistbinder to, say, a Merfolk Branchwalker, which a lot of people want to scrap, Branchwalker is so much more useful against Jund, against Abzan, against Control, maybe even against more attrition-based versions of Death Shadow decks, because you can draw cards, you can draw land, which are relevant, either random land to discard to Liliana, or you can draw Mutavault, which you can play, or you can sculpt the top of your deck for more important threats, or sideboard cards. Merfolk Branchwalker helps us find our sideboard cards as well. Merfolk Mistbinder is just going to eat a removal spell, that's it. It won't, long-term does not help us against the attrition-based matchups. If you compare it to Water Trap Weaver hits the battlefield, taps something down, and it won't untap during our opponent's untap step. So whether this Weaver dies or not, doesn't matter, it has a tangible effect on the board, on the game. So this is where I'm standing on the Lords. I'm only even playing 11 Lords right now in my deck. I'm not even playing the full 4 Marrigery, so I couldn't really see right now playing more than that. It's possible. There are definitely metagames where you just want to have a Lords. The best case scenario I'm looking at this thing is that it's just replacing Marrigery, and it might end up being a mistake. Now, with all the gloom done, there are great benefits to Misty here. Misty's wonderful in other ways, so let's talk about it. She is way better than Phantasmal Image. Phantasmal Image, for Phantasmal Image to come out and play, the weather needs to be just right. The sun shining in just the right way. The birds chirping, the smell of the flowers. Phantasmal Image is quite delicate. Dies to anything. Specifically, it's very vulnerable to Electrolyze, and whenever Electrolyze is very popular, or just exists at all, not to mention, if there are any abilities or creatures that can target Phantasmal Image, it just dies instantly. It's terrible. Like, even Liliana the Last Hope, just shoot it for end. Doesn't matter how big you are, you're dead. This isn't going to happen with Misty. Misty will be able to endure all the problems that Phantasmal Image did. And make no mistake, there was a lot of situations where I want to play with Phantasmal Image just as a Lord. Most of the time we are using Phantasmal Image just as a Lord. I know that we can copy a lot of things from our opponent, but you know what? Like 80% of the time, it's just copying our stuff, even though it can copy like Silvergill Adept. In general, it was like an honorary Lord. So Merfolk Mistbinder can be in place of Phantasmal Image if there ever was a situation where Phantasmal Image was good. Let's return to how cheap Merfolk Mistbinder is to cast. 2 mana is very serious. We can keep our Ether Vial on 2 much more often. We're going to be put in more situations against like combo decks where we can just tap 2 mana on turn 3 and have 1 blue up for Dispel, Spell Pierce, who knows what other interaction. Maybe even play 2 things at once. I can play Ether Vial and Misty at the same time, or maybe Curse Catcher and Misty at the same time. Way more options like that. Lastly, it's possible that this 3rd cheap Lord will open up a new archetype for Merfolk, like a super aggro archetype with many 1/1 creatures, and we can cut down on the lands. A lot of people have been talking about this. It's possible. It's possible. We'll have a lower curve, maybe play with cheaper spells, be more aggressive. It's not really where I want to take the deck. Merfolk has shown really no success as a pure aggro deck, but maybe this is the enabler it needs. Maybe this could create a Merfolk deck that we've never seen before. So overall, I'm just sort of looking at Merfolk Mistbinder as a vanilla Lord, but maybe that's all we need. I wouldn't be surprised if this does end up being a big part of our toolbox. Do you guys see Merfolk Mistbinder in a way that I don't? Let me know in the comments section below. So this has been Nikachu talking about Merfolk Mistbinder, the latest spoiler from Rivals of Ixalan.